All right, so hey people, Russ Jensen. So it's about 6:30 p.m. on 23rd of November, 2016 here in Salt Lake City, Utah. You know, um, we're hoping that this little new approach I'm trying with these videos and putting up some pictures of these words is helpful, but everybody needs to get a copy of these documents to have them on hand. Not only when we're reviewing this information, but just as you're uh, preparing your case, your situation at all times. Understand these things. You need to be verifying what I'm saying, what anybody else is saying, ever. Okay, anytime you take an action of any kind, you need to make sure that you understand what you're doing, what you're predicating your actions upon, especially when we're dealing with these kind of situations, these kind of issues, when we're challenging like the status quo, when we're exercising our sovereign authority. You know, we're talking a little bit about what sovereignty and sovereign authority is, and we're talking a little bit about what the Constitution is. Now, I've said that this book, Law of Nations, defines specifically what the Constitution is, and so I'm going to do that in two parts. A little bit on this one, and then on the next one. Let's talk a little bit about what sovereignty is. Now, if we go to your Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10 in the book, Law of Nations, we go to Book 1. Section 1 is what it says of the state and of sovereignty. A nation or state is, this has been said at the beginning of this work, up in the preliminaries, a body politic or a society of men united together for the purpose of promoting their mutual safety and advantage by their combined strength. From the very design that induces a number of men to form a society which has its common interests, and which is to act in concert, it is necessary that there should be established a public authority. Now, you usually hear me use that word a lot, public authority, because that's what it is. Constitutionally defined right here. Okay? And the purpose of the public authority is to order and direct what is to be done by each in its relation to the end of the association, each being the individuals, because it can only be individual men. Okay? That's very important here, so I've highlighted. This political authority is the sovereignty. It is the structure, the offices of the public authority, the government per se, the office of governor, the office of senator, the office of all those different offices that are designated, and he or they who are invested with it, that political authority in the sovereignty in those offices, are the sovereigns. So we hear these people running around saying, I'm a sovereign citizen. Now, not really in a traditional sense. Now, we're going to be talking about what the office of the people is, because it's an office also in your government that's not talked about intentionally. When we start dissecting and looking into examining our Constitution, how it's written, what the words mean, where they're placed, okay, what that means. So you are a sovereign, certainly not a sovereign citizen, but the constitutional definition, we're talking about the sovereigns are those members of the elected or unelected officials in the offices exercising the sovereign authority, the sovereignty of the political association, which is the public authority. Okay? Now, you see right here is number 10, footnote 10, and put that up here. And so what's talking about is some of these other areas, some of these other books and things that you should be reading and looking upon. Now, the footnotes are not in the original book. Now, but they are added in. They are sitting in there right now today. But these are things that we can use, additional source of information that we can rely upon to get a better understanding. But they're not necessarily going to be construed as constitutional law for the purposes that we're talking about. Although they do add upon these very concepts of principles that we're talking about. Now, if we continue on down here in this book, go to section 3, talking about the several kinds of government. Okay, now this is where we start talking about the type of government that we have. The several kinds of government. If the body of the nation keep in its own hands the empire or the right to command, it is a popular government, a democracy. A semicolon. Now, if it entrusts it to a certain number of citizens, to a senate, it establishes an aristocratic republic. The semicolon. And finally, if it confide the government to a single person, the state becomes a monarch. Those are three primary choices, and they can be combined in different ways. But right now, what we have here in the United States of America is what? An aristocratic republic, isn't it? Entrusted to a certain number of citizens, to a senate. Is not what we have. Okay. Now, we're talking about a little bit about what our sovereign states. I'm going to tie this over a little bit with your Declaration of Independence. You can start to understand these men had a copy of this book, Law of Nations, okay, that they were relying upon when they wrote that document, the Declaration of Independence. Okay? They read these concepts, understood these principles, and acted upon them. Okay? It's very important for us to understand that we have the exact same abilities to do that. Now, I'm not suggesting revolution of any kind. I'm saying you have authority, people, and I'll show you here what it says, those things. Okay? Anyways, every nation that governs itself under what form soever, without dependence on any foreign power, is a sovereign state. Its rights are naturally the same as those of any other state, and such are the moral persons who live together in a natural society subject to the law of nations. I understand law of nations, moral persons. That's all there is people. Okay, no such other thing. Okay, you have groups of people, jural societies. Now, to give a nation a right to make an immediate figure in this grand society, it's sufficient that it really be really sovereign and independent. That is, that it govern itself by its own authority and laws. Now, what did they do when they wrote that Declaration of Independence? They wrote some of these words. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the supreme judge of the world, the Creator, for the restitude of our intentions due in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, the authority of who? The people, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right, ought to be free and independent states. They didn't ask permission. They determined what they were and exercised their lawful sovereign authority that appears upon them and you, the naturally occurring right. Okay? They're absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown. That all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is not to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, as a political authority, political society, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. Okay? Utilize the concepts, these understandings, these principles, the law of nations to do that. Now, let's talk a little bit about number 10. We're federal republic, aren't we? Here we're federated states, 50 individual nation states. That's what they are, an individual nation state. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. Okay? So number 10, of states forming a federal republic is what we have here. So we have an aristocratic republic now being federated. Okay? Finally, several sovereign and independent states, what they are, we read your Articles of Confederation, which we'll get into a little bit later, may unite themselves together by a perpetual confederacy, perpetual, important word, without ceasing to be, each individually, a perfect state. They will together constitute a federal republic. Their joint deliberations will not impair the sovereignty of each member. That's what they talk about. Each individual state has its own set of rules, laws, okay, that apply to it specifically. And they also agree to operate collectively together in a federated state. So these federal laws, rules, regulations, statutes that are written, okay? But each individual state, the state of Utah is a sovereign state, isn't it? What they talk about under what? the 11th Amendment, state sovereignty. Hmm? Okay? But understand these. It's very important to understand the fact that just because you've become federated, you've come as a sovereign state and use a lawful sovereign authority. These things can be applied down to the status of men because that's really all there are. Okay? It says what? Their joint deliberations will not impair the sovereignty of each member, though they may in certain respects put some restraint on the exercise of it in virtue of voluntary engagements. A person does not cease to be free and independent when he is obliged to fulfill engagements which he has voluntarily contracted. Anyone has to understanding contracts, voluntary, consent. Okay. Oh, there goes my big old dog barking again. So, Fukushima, stop. Okay. Well, Oka, enough. I'll have to edit that out too. Anyways, okay. All right. I know he's a big protector of me. Okay. One last thing I'm going to close with here. Okay. Last part out of your declaration says what? And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Now, people, okay, right here, right now, for me, I've done this before in the past, put it up on the YouTube channel and did a few things, and anybody else to respond to it, but whatever, okay. Here I am. I'm mutually pledging to you, okay, my life, my fortune, my sacred honor. Okay, and these things, these activities, okay, we need to come together as a group, solidarity, right? Try to figure out how we get back control of our governance that's been hijacked. Okay, like I said, I'm all about governments. I'm all about the United States of America. I'm all about our aristocratic constitutional republic. It's been hijacked. Okay, we know for a fact, like I said, these people have violated egregious violations. Okay, not for your benefit, for theirs. You can't tell me that lying about the fact of a commercial airplane, 757, crashing in the Pentagon, supposedly when there's no evidence of an airplane being there, is for my best interest. Lying to me about that and forcing me to live that lie. How does that make me more secure? That makes me less secure. You guys and your electronic eavesdrop, everything you're doing. Okay? Not for my benefits, for yours. Okay? And for nefarious reasons too. Okay? We have to get back in control of our governance. Okay? Even here at the local level, okay, we're talking about embezzlement on a huge, gigantic scale. People, it's real. I don't know, it's gonna be dangerous. They've terrorized people, they've murdered people, they've incarcerated people without proper notice, without real due process of law. They've compromised the judiciary, they've done all those things. I understand that. Okay? Very scary, very real, but guess what? We have to make a stand, because if we don't, pretty soon you won't have the ability to do anything without permission. You don't think that that's not going to be happening? You don't think that's already not happening? And those of you in government that know a lot of these things, you have a duty and obligation to talk about those things, okay? Saying it's just doing it because it's your job, well, that didn't fly at Nuremberg, and it's not going to fly when the day when we finally manage to regain control, we start having some real investigations of what's gone on. Okay? You owe it to yourself, your family, your kids. You gotta stand up, do the right things, people. And it's hard, scary. Okay? We have to lose probably maybe everything. Matters whether or not you actually really believe in the American dream, really believe in the American concept. Now or never, people, time to make the stand. We have to. We don't have much time left. We really don't. So, well, like I said, I apologize for the quality of some of these things and myself, and I said I'm feeling really sick right now, really, really sick. But it's important information, okay? And like I said, try to ignore the messenger, get past me, start understanding this information, start reading, study it for yourself. It's not hard. Like I said, I don't claim to be the teacher. I don't claim to have any expertise. I just know what I've read, uh, what I've tried to comprehend, what makes sense to me, what I've seen, what I know this information can do. Now, are they going to just lay down and die? No. They're going to roll over for us? No. But we have to start making our positions known, people. We have to be able to do it in a way that we are understanding, and so we can communicate that to the other individuals in our society. Okay? We can justify our actions and our beliefs, what we're saying, why we're doing certain things, why we have the ability, the constitutional authority to do these things. So everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Uh, and as I said, thanks for listening, and I appreciate what little support I'm getting. I love everybody, and I'll talk to you next time.